Hi, everyone. Welcome to Undercurrents, our daily news show from Unheard's Washington Bureau. Subscribe here, wherever you get podcasts, and over at undercurrents.tv for the full premium experience of the show. I want to bring you a reaction to some breaking news. This morning, there was a national prayer service held at the National Cathedral to pray over the new administration. And the Bishop of Washington, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington, delivered some very eyebrow-raising remarks that have already caused a bit of a stir. So let's just listen in to what Bishop Mariann Budde, she's the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, again, listen a little bit to what she had to say.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
And let's listen a little bit to Donald Trump when he was asked to react to the service.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon?
What did you think of the What did you think of the service?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting? Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
They can do much better.
In some ways, this feels like a blast from the past, right? Like we're back to the Trump culture wars of 2017, where someone says something that I would just describe or categorize as totally out of touch with the mood of the country and is kind of cringy, then eliciting this sort of, or I guess maybe creating this media hysteria that elicits a response from Trump, and you end up going back and forth and tit for tat. But I actually don't think this has a lot of legs. It has a lot of legs on Twitter, but I don't know if it does have the same, amount of, it's not going to get the same amount of interest from regular Americans than it does in the media. So again, this is saying things that are arguing past the point, right? Like the New York Times had a fascinating story the day before Donald Trump's inauguration about support for Trump's policies exceeds support for Donald Trump. And one of those issues where this is more true than almost anywhere else is on immigration, where you see majorities of Americans support the deportations of people who are here illegally. And that is not because the American people, you can look at poll after poll, do not support legal immigration and have like bigoted or racist views towards people who are coming to this country for a better life. And many of these stories, the stories of people who will be turned away, who are being turned away, are absolutely heart-wrenching. But what the public has been exposed to as the media has kind of democratized and new voices have been allowed to speak on platforms like X, for one example, what people have realized as trust in the media as an institution has cratered in recent years is that these heart-wrenching stories create more heart-wrenching stories, right? As you let people in through the southern border, it created literal physical pathways through the Darien Gap, through Central America, up into Mexico, that created mass trafficking by cartels. Every single person is a paycheck to drug cartels. And this is just one of many issues that we've kind of learned to look past. Even like swing voters and many Democrats, as polling shows, have learned to look beyond the media's facile and just, again, it's so cringy now. Like they're facile, they're sanctimonious narratives that they concoct around some of these stories. So for the bishop in such a high profile moment to come in and say, I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands find compassion and welcome here. Yeah, everybody wants that, but we also can't accept everybody. And the American people understand that. So being lectured down to by a bishop at a time when most Americans probably see Donald Trump as trying to unify the country. One of the biggest lines that's coming out of his inaugural address this week is that it's a golden age, a golden era. It just really tone deaf, and I think an example of one of the retro sentiments that's going to fall flat this time around, at least for now. I mean, things change. It's a very kinetic situation. Things can change very quickly, unpredictable time, and all of that. But as of right now, I just don't think most Americans, I mean, maybe journalists, this is like catnip to them still, because they still want to have those sweet nothings whispered into their ears about being right all along, right? Like, this is like where your heart was taking you was always correct. You don't have to second guess those years you spent acting like anybody who disagreed with you on immigration was a bigot. They still want to have that comfort told to them by people outside of the media. But at this point, enough journalists are even questioning this because they have had their bottom lines affected. Donald Trump has been elected twice. So this sort of cringy sanctimony that paints people's motivations to be dark and negative, where they're actually in many cases just common sense, or not, at the very least, not coming from a place of bigotry. This sentiment expressed by this bishop, absolutely, and I think this is the key thing, implies that people who agree with Donald Trump on these issues and who want to see these policies are coming from a dark place. The same thing where the bishop says there are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. I mean, that, again, people fear for their safety when they're in sports games, and their children's safety, their daughter's safety when they're in sports games. And we've seen women get hurt when trans-identifying children have been allowed to mix sexes in contact sports. So the country is with Donald Trump on immigration, is with Donald Trump on most of just restoring that question of male and female biological reality as many people see it. And this type of thing, again, it sounds like something in 2017 that might have worked and blown up into a big media story, but I sort of feel like it's going to wither on the vine, again, at least for now. So we will be here following all the stories like this. Make sure to subscribe right here on the YouTube channel, right here if you're listening on podcasts, wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, subscribe, and make sure to subscribe to the premium experience of the show if you're interested over at undercurrents.tv. We'll be back here with more soon.